The stars looked different from here. John Miller had spent 20 years staring at them through telescopes and viewports, but seeing them without Earth's atmosphere in the way still took his breath away. He floated in the command chair of the Pathfinder, humanity's first true interstellar vessel, as it cruised through the Ta City system. "Captain, I'm detecting an unusual energy signature," said Penny, the ship's artificial intelligence. Her voice was calm and clear, designed to never show panic. John straightened in his chair. "Location: approximately 300,000 kilometers off our port side." It appeared suddenly. Dr. Susan White, the ship's xenobiologist, glided onto the bridge from the science lab. Her dark hair was tied back in a simple ponytail that floated slightly in the low gravity. "Are we seeing something interesting?" she asked, her eyes bright with curiosity. "Maybe," John said. "Penny, put it on screen." The main display flickered to life, showing a patch of seemingly empty space. Then the stars in that region bent slightly, as if seen through rippling water. Captain Frank Martinez, the military liaison, entered the bridge next. His muscular frame and serious expression made him look like he was always ready for trouble. "Some kind of cloaking technology?" he asked. "Likely," John agreed. "Penny, are we being scanned?" "Yes, Captain. Something is sending directed energy waves toward us. They're passing through our hull." Susan gripped the railing. "First contact. This is really happening." The air on the bridge felt electric. The crew of 6 had trained for this possibility, but no one truly believed they'd encounter alien life on humanity's first journey beyond the solar system. "Should I ready defensive measures?" Frank asked, his hand hovering over the weapons console. John shook his head. "Not yet. Let's try talking first." He took a deep breath. "Penny, broadcast on all frequencies. Standard greeting package." The AI confirmed the transmission of Earth's carefully crafted first contact message, a series of mathematical sequences, simple atomic diagrams, and basic language primers designed by Earth's best linguists and scientists. Minutes passed in tense silence. Then the view screen flickered, and an image appeared. The alien had a slender body with 4 arms and smooth, pale blue skin. Its large eyes blinked sideways as it studied the humans. "We are Veldari," it said in surprisingly good English. "We serve as intermediaries for the Galactic Confederation." John stood up slowly. "I am Captain John Miller of Earth. This is our vessel, Pathfinder." The alien's eyes widened. "Earth. You are humans." "Yes," John confirmed, noticing the strange tone in the alien's voice. The Veldari seemed to tremble slightly. "This is unexpected. Our records indicated your species would not achieve interstellar flight for another 50 years. Susan stepped forward. "Your records? You've been watching us." Before the Veldari could answer, alarms blared across the bridge. "Captain." Penny's voice cut through the noise. 3 vessels have appeared, much larger than the Veldari ship. The view screen split to show 3 massive warships, their hulls covered in what looked like bony plates and spikes. They dwarfed the Pathfinder. The Veldari spoke quickly. "Those are Krell warships. They are dangerous. You must." The transmission cut off, replaced by a new face. This alien was reptilian, with dark green scales and yellow slitted eyes. Sharp teeth showed when it spoke. "Primitive vessel, this is Commander Drax of the Krell Dominion. You have entered claimed space. Surrender your ship and prepare to be boarded." Frank moved to John's side. "Captain, we can't outrun them, and we certainly can't outfight them." John's mind raced. "Penny, what are our options?" "Limited, Captain. Their weapons systems are powering up." The Krell commander laughed, a harsh sound like grinding rocks. "Humans, we've heard of your kind. Soft, weak, unworthy of the stars. Your surrender will make this simple." John looked around at his crew, at Susan's determined face, at Frank's tense posture, at the other officers watching him for guidance. Earth was counting on them. History was watching. "This is Captain John Miller of Earth," he said, standing tall. "And we don't surrender that easily." The Krell's yellow eyes narrowed. "Then you will learn why nobody challenges the Krell." What they didn't know was that the Krell were about to learn why nobody should dare to fight humans. The Krell warships loomed over the Pathfinder like sharks circling a minnow. On the bridge, John Miller kept his face calm despite the fear churning in his stomach. His crew needed leadership now, not panic. "They're deploying smaller craft," Penny announced. "Boarding parties, most likely." Frank Martinez moved to John's side. "Captain, I have an idea. It's risky, but it might buy us time." "I'm open to anything right now," John said. Frank lowered his voice. "The Krell think we're primitive. Let's use that. We play weak, let them board, then surprise them." John nodded slowly. "Engineer Thompson," he called out to Lisa, who was monitoring the ship's systems. "Can you reroute power from our fusion drive to create some kind of weapon?" Lisa, a small woman with quick hands and quicker thinking, was already typing commands into her console. "I can modify the emergency plasma vents. Won't be pretty, but it'll pack a punch." "Do it," John ordered. He turned to Alan Wright, their communications officer. "Send a message back to Earth. Use the emergency protocol." Alan's fingers flew across his station. "What should I tell them?" "Tell them we've made contact and need help. Include everything we know about the Krell and Veldari. Encrypt it with Protocol Titan." Susan White approached, her face pale but determined. "The Veldari ship is hanging back. I think they're watching to see what happens." "Good," John said. "We need witnesses." He raised his voice to address the entire bridge. "Everyone, listen carefully. We're about to be boarded by hostile aliens. Remember your training, stick together, and don't show fear. Earth is counting on us." The crew moved quickly to prepare. Frank distributed the ship's limited weapons, mostly tools repurposed as clubs and spears. Lisa worked frantically on her plasma weapon. Ryan Cooper, their young science officer, helped secure vital research data. When the first bang echoed through the hull, they knew the Krell had arrived. "They're cutting through the airlock," Penny reported. John took his position near the bridge entrance, with Frank beside him. "Penny, dim the lights. Let's make it harder for them to see us." The bridge darkened just as the door slid open with a hiss. 3 Krell warriors stepped inside, each nearly 7 feet tall with thick scales and powerful tails. They carried weapons that glowed with strange energy. "Surrender now, humans," the lead Krell demanded, his voice a deep rumble. John stepped forward with his hands raised. "We are a peaceful expedition. We mean no harm." The Krell laughed, showing rows of sharp teeth. "Weak, as expected. Secure them." As the aliens moved forward, John gave the signal. "Now." Frank lunged from the shadows, striking the lead Krell with a metal bar. Lisa activated her makeshift weapon, sending a burst of superheated plasma across the room that caught another warrior in the chest. The alien screamed in pain, falling backward. The third Krell fired his weapon, hitting the wall near Susan. Ryan Cooper, without hesitation, tackled the alien despite being half its size. They tumbled to the floor in a tangle of limbs. More Krell poured through the door. The humans fought with everything they had: tools, chairs, bare hands. What they lacked in strength, they made up for with speed and teamwork. John saw Ryan struggling with the Krell he tackled. The alien had pinned the young officer down and was raising a clawed hand to strike. Without thinking, John threw himself into the fight, grabbing the alien's arm. The Krell's strength was incredible, but John refused to let go. He felt something crack in his wrist, but still he held on, giving Ryan the chance to grab a broken piece of equipment and jam it into the Krell's eye. From the corner of the room, Lisa shouted, "Captain, the main plasma line is ready." "Everyone down," John yelled, pulling Ryan to the floor. Lisa triggered her creation. A blinding flash of energy erupted from the wall panels, washing over the remaining Krell. The aliens shrieked in pain as their scales smoked and cracked. When the light faded, the bridge was filled with wounded and stunned Krell warriors. The humans, though injured, were still fighting. Through the viewport, John could see the Veldari ship. It had moved closer, observing everything. The small alien's words came back to him. "You are humans," spoken with what he now recognized as fear. Now he understood why. John woke up in a room unlike any he had ever seen. The walls curved in strange angles, and the light came from everywhere and nowhere at once. His head throbbed as he sat up on what seemed to be a bed, though it adjusted to his movements like a living thing. "Captain's awake," said a familiar voice. Frank Martinez sat nearby, his arm wrapped in a shimmering bandage. Susan White stood beside him, examining a floating screen filled with alien text. "Where are we?" John asked, his throat dry. "Some kind of space station," Frank said. "After we fought off the Krell boarding party, their main ship hit us with something that knocked everyone out. The Veldari intervened before they could finish us off." "Lisa, Ryan, the others?" Susan's face darkened. "Lisa and Alan are in another room, recovering like we are. But Ryan," she looked down. "Ryan didn't make it. He saved 3 crew members when the Krell fired on our engine section." John closed his eyes briefly. The young science officer had shown more courage than anyone could have expected. The door, or what served as one, rippled open. A Veldari entered, followed by several other alien species John didn't recognize. "The humans are conscious," the Veldari said to its companions. Then, to John, "I am Ta, diplomatic liaison. You are in the central hub of the Galactic Confederation." John carefully stood up. "What is this confederation? And why did the Krell attack us?" A tall alien with skin like polished wood stepped forward. "I am Grand Arbiter Xal. The Confederation is an alliance of 37 spacefaring civilizations." The alien's voice was deep and melodic. "The Krell are members, though they often act against our principles. They nearly killed my crew," John said, trying to keep his anger in check. "Yes," Saul replied. "And your response was most illuminating." Susan joined John. "What does that mean?" "We were just defending ourselves." Another alien, small with 6 arms and eyes that glowed faintly, spoke rapidly in a language John couldn't understand. A Veldari translated. "Historian Zik says your combat methods match ancient records. Records of a species that nearly conquered our galaxy 10,000 years ago." Frank laughed, though there was no humor in it. "That's ridiculous. 10,000 years ago, humans were still figuring out farming." "Not according to our genetic archives," Saul said. A large screen appeared in the center of the room, showing DNA strands side by side. "These samples are from your crew and from preserved tissue of the decimators, the conquerors from our past." Even John could see the similarities. "This is why we kept Earth under observation but maintained a non-interference policy," Ty explained. "Many feared what would happen if humans reached the stars again." "Again?" Susan asked. "You're saying humans had space travel before? That's impossible." Historian Zik spoke again, longer this time. "Zik says the evidence suggests Earth once housed an advanced civilization that collapsed suddenly." Ta translated. "The decimators disappeared around the same time." John tried to process this information. "You think we're descendants of these decimators? That we're some kind of threat to you based on ancient history?" "Some believe this," Zal admitted. "Others think humans are victims of the decimators, not their children. The debate has raged for centuries, while you've been watching us without our knowledge," Frank said bitterly. "We had reason for caution," Tay replied. "Your response to the Krell has only heightened concerns. Many delegates now call for Earth's immediate quarantine." Susan stepped forward. "That's not fair. We were defending ourselves from unprovoked attack, with remarkable effectiveness," Zal noted. 6 of your crew managed to disable 12 elite Krell warriors using improvised weapons and tactics no other species would have considered." A new alien entered the room, its body covered in iridescent scales. The council is gathered. They must be presented. Zal gestured toward the door. Come. The Confederation will decide humanity's status now. Your actions here will determine your species' future. As they walked through halls filled with aliens of every description, John thought about Earth, unaware of the judgment about to be passed on it. He thought about Ryan Cooper, who died protecting his friends. No matter what these aliens believed about humanity's past, John would show them who humans really were, here and now. 6 months passed since the Pathfinder incident. On Earth, people went about their daily lives unaware of the danger hanging over them from the stars. But in secret facilities around the globe, preparations were underway. Admiral Diane Clark stood in the control room of the newly completed space station Sentinel, hidden on the far side of the moon. Below her, on the main floor, officers monitored screens showing Earth's hastily built defense grid. She'd never imagined her naval career would lead to commanding humanity's first space fleet. Admiral, her aide said, the Jupiter shipyards report the destroyer's Defiance and Courage will be ready next week. Diane nodded. When Alan Wright's message had reached Earth, governments worldwide had united with unprecedented speed. Old enemies became allies overnight. Resources poured into space defense. The Pathfinder crew's data on alien technology had accelerated human advancement by decades. And our diplomatic team? She asked. Mr. Barnes' ship will reach the Confederation hub tomorrow. Kevin Barnes had been an international negotiator before all this. Now he carried humanity's future in his hands. His mission: convince the Confederation that humans weren't the monsters some believed them to be. Across the void of space, John Miller stared out a viewport at the massive structure of the Confederation hub. 6 months of being examined, questioned, and studied had worn him down, but he refused to show weakness. They're letting us attend the General Assembly today, Susan said, joining him at the window. She looked different now, harder, more focused. Loss and isolation had changed them all. About time, John replied. Have you heard anything from the Thalassians? Susan nodded. The scholarly Thalassians had been the first aliens to show real interest in human culture beyond fear. They're supporting our petition for Confederation membership, the Norvu too. 2 allies out of 37 species. Better than none. A soft chime announced a visitor. The door slid open to reveal Ta, their Veldari guide. Your Earth vessel has arrived, Ta said. Your diplomats will join us at the assembly. John straightened his jacket. Then let's not keep them waiting. The assembly hall was enormous, with seating arranged in rising tiers around a central speaking platform. Thousands of aliens filled the space, their murmurs creating a sea of strange sounds. John and Susan were led to seats near the front, where they found Frank waiting. Quite a crowd, Frank whispered, most of them probably hoping to see us in chains. Before John could respond, a group of humans entered from the far side of the hall. He recognized Kevin Barnes leading them. A tall man with graying hair and a confident stride. Grand Arbiter Xal took the central platform, raising 4 arms for silence. The assembly recognizes Earth's diplomatic representatives. They have requested the right to address the Confederation regarding their species status. Kevin stepped onto the platform, looking surprisingly calm for someone facing an audience of aliens. Members of the Galactic Confederation, he began, his voice strong and clear. I come before you not as a conqueror or a threat, but as a neighbor. Earth extends its hand in friendship. A rumble of disagreement rose from many delegates. You have judged humanity based on ancient history and limited observation, Kevin continued. Today, I ask you to look deeper. He activated a display showing Earth's greatest achievements, medical breakthroughs, artistic masterpieces, acts of heroism and compassion. This is who we truly are, Kevin said. Yes, we can fight when threatened. Captain Miller and his crew demonstrated that. But we also heal, create, and explore. We seek knowledge, not dominance. From the Krell section came a harsh voice. Pretty words to hide your true nature. The speaker was Commander Drax, his scales still bearing scars from the Pathfinder encounter. The humans show their warlike tendencies even now. Drax continued. Our intelligence reports they are building weapons, preparing for conflict. Kevin remained calm. We are preparing to defend ourselves, yes. Your unprovoked attack forced our hand, but our preference is peace. The Krell Dominion calls for immediate action, Drax demanded. Quarantine Earth before they grow stronger. History must not repeat itself. As arguments erupted throughout the hall, John caught Kevin's eye. Both men understood the stakes. Earth needed time. Time to build defenses, to find more allies, to prove humanity's worth. But time was the one thing their enemies wouldn't willingly give them. The meeting chamber was located in a neutral zone between Confederation and Earth space. Kevin Barnes sat across from 3 alien representatives, with John Miller and Susan White flanking him. The small station hummed quietly as they discussed possible terms for Earth's relationship with the Confederation. We understand your concerns, Kevin said patiently. But complete disarmament is not an option. Earth must maintain the ability to defend itself. The Thalassian delegate, a tall being with skin like parchment, nodded. A reasonable position. Perhaps limited technology sharing cold. A deafening alarm cut through the air. The station shook violently. We're under attack, Susan shouted over the noise. The view screen showed 3 Krell warships firing on the station. The security system immediately sealed all doors. This is a neutral meeting, the Thalassian protested. The Krell violate our most sacred laws. Another blast rocked the station. Warning lights flashed as the life support systems began to fail. We need to get to the emergency shuttles, John said, helping the fallen delegates to their feet. As they moved through the corridor, Lisa Thompson's voice came through John's communicator. She had been waiting on their ship docked at the station. Captain, I'm detecting something strange inside the station walls. Energy readings unlike anything I've seen before. We're a little busy staying alive, Lisa, John replied as they reached a junction. The readings are coming from that wall to your right, Lisa insisted. They spiked when you approached. Susan moved to examine the wall panel. She's right. There's something here. Another blast threw them against the wall. The panel cracked open, revealing the hidden compartment with a strange device inside. It was smooth and black, with pulsing blue lines across its surface. Don't touch it, warned the Veldari delegate. That's ancient technology. But as the station rocked again, John was thrown forward, his hand landing directly on the device. Immediately, the blue lines flared bright, and the device hummed to life. It responded to you, the Thalassian whispered in awe. Only the builders should be able to activate it. The device projected a holographic map of the station, highlighting a hidden section none of them knew existed. It's showing us a path, Kevin said. Maybe to safety. They followed the map through maintenance tunnels and sealed corridors until they reached a large, circular room deep in the station's core. The walls were covered in symbols similar to those on the device. This station, the Thalassian said slowly, it's not Confederation built. It's much older. The central pedestal in the room activated as they entered, revealing a vast database that responded to John's touch. These are historical records, Susan said, quickly scanning the information. Going back thousands of years. Her face paled. John, you need to see this. The display showed ancient star maps, battle records, and finally, a planet unmistakably Earth. The decimators weren't our ancestors, Susan said, her voice shaking. They were our enemies. The records told a different story than the one they'd heard. Earth had once been home to an advanced human civilization that fought a devastating war against the Decimator Empire. Humans hadn't been the conquerors. They had been the defenders who stopped the Decimators from enslaving the galaxy. Your people sacrificed everything, the Thalassian said softly. Your civilization collapsed after the final battle, forcing your species to rebuild from primitive conditions. The Confederation knew this, Kevin asked, anger rising in his voice. Not all of us, the Veldari admitted. The truth was hidden by the early council. They feared that if humans ever returned to the stars, the balance of power would shift. Another explosion rocked the station, larger than before. "We need to get this information out," John said firmly. "The whole Confederation needs to know the truth." Lisa's voice came through the communicator again, urgent now. "Captain, you need to hurry. The station's core is destabilizing. You have 10 minutes at most." As alarms blared around them, John looked at the ancient technology that had revealed humanity's true past. Now they just needed to survive long enough to share it with others. Admiral Diane Clark watched the fleet of ships on her command screen. Each dot represented a vessel built by Earth in the 6 months since first contact. It wasn't much compared to what the aliens had, but it was all that stood between humanity and possible extinction. "Admiral, we're receiving an emergency signal," her communications officer said. "It's from the diplomatic team's ship." Diane straightened. "Put it through." Kevin Barnes appeared on screen, his face dirty and a cut above his eye. "Admiral, the neutral zone meeting was attacked by Krell forces. We barely escaped. Casualties. None on our side, thankfully. But we have urgent news." Kevin glanced off screen, then back. "We've discovered the truth about humanity's history. The decimators weren't our ancestors. They were our enemies. Humans were defenders of the galaxy, not conquerors." Diane absorbed this information. "Can you prove it?" "We downloaded historical records from ancient technology at the station. Susan and Lisa are analyzing them now." "Good. Return to." An alarm cut Diane off. "Stand by, Barnes." Her tactical officer's voice was tense. "Admiral, multiple ships just appeared at the edge of our solar system. Krell signatures." "How many?" 15 warships, ma'am. They're heading for Mars colony." Diane turned back to the screen. "Barnes, get that information to the Confederation as fast as possible. We'll hold off the Krell." She terminated the call and turned to her bridge crew. "Battle stations. All ships to defensive formation Beta. We need to protect Mars." Earth's small fleet moved into position as the Krell advanced. The colony on Mars housed 10,000 people, scientists, engineers, and their families. They had no real defenses. On the bridge of the destroyer Defiance, Captain Frank Martinez watched the approaching enemy. After returning to Earth and sharing what he'd learned about alien technology, Frank had been given command of humanity's most advanced warship. "Captain, the Krell are broadcasting," his communications officer said. The face of Commander Drax appeared on screen. "Human vessel, this is your only warning. Leave this system or be destroyed." Frank's expression remained calm. "This is Captain Martinez of Earth Vessel Defiance. You are in Earth territory. Withdraw your ships immediately." Drax laughed. "Your primitive vessels cannot stand against us. We will eliminate your colony as a warning to all humans." The transmission ended. Frank turned to his tactical officer. "Remember the plan. Make them think we're running, then circle back." "Yes, sir." Frank addressed the entire crew. "Every ship in our fleet is outnumbered, outgunned, and facing a technologically superior enemy. But we have something they don't. We're fighting for our homes, our families, and our future. And if there's one thing these aliens should know by now, it's that humans don't give up." The Krell fleet approached Mars, their massive ships dwarfing the human vessels. "All ships, execute Maneuver Delta," Frank ordered. The Earth fleet scattered, appearing to retreat in panic. The Krell ships moved forward, focusing on the colony. Then, on Frank's command, the human ships suddenly changed course, attacking from multiple directions at once. The Defiance fired its main weapon, a modified version of Lisa Thompson's plasma weapon from the Pathfinder, now much more powerful. It cut through a Krell warship's shields, leaving a glowing wound in its side. On the Confederation hub, John Miller and Susan White watched the battle through transmitted data. Beside them stood Eterna, a being unlike any they had seen before. They had discovered her in a hidden section of the hub's archives, a synthetic being created by the original human civilization as a guardian of their knowledge. "Your people fight well," Eterna said, her voice melodic yet artificial, "just as they did against the Decimators." "Will the Confederation help them?" John asked. Eterna's expression was sad. "The Council is divided. Some wish to help, others fear human potential. They have monitored Earth for thousands of years, sometimes even causing disasters to keep your development in check." "What?" Susan's face showed shock. "The asteroid that killed the dinosaurs. The Ice Ages. Not all were their doing, but some, yes. They feared what would happen if humans reclaimed their place in the stars." John turned back to the battle display. Despite being outnumbered, the Earth ships were fighting with unexpected effectiveness. Frank's strategy was working. The Krell, accustomed to overwhelming force, were confused by the humans' unpredictable tactics. "We need to get this information to everyone," John said firmly. "Not just the Council, but all species in the Confederation." Eterna nodded. "I can help with that." The Grand Council chamber of the Confederation hub buzzed with tension. Representatives from 37 species filled the tiered seats, their voices a mix of worried murmurs and angry shouts. Grand Arbiter Xal stood at the center, trying to maintain order. "We must vote now on the human question," Xal announced. "The Krell have already attacked a human colony without Confederation approval." Commander Drax stood from the Krell section. "We act to protect the Confederation. These humans are a clear danger to us all." "Based on what evidence?" asked the Thalassian representative. "Ancient history that may be misunderstood." The debate grew louder. Some species sided with the Krell, arguing that humans were too dangerous to be allowed free development. Others, including the Thalassians and Veldari, urged caution and more study. John Miller, Susan White, and Kevin Barnes watched from a small observation area. Their evidence about humanity's true past sat ready, but they needed the floor to present it. "If we don't speak soon, they'll vote without hearing the truth," Kevin whispered. Just as Saul prepared to call for the vote, the chamber's lights flickered. Every screen and display in the room suddenly activated, showing the same image: Earth, as it had been 10,000 years ago. Eterna had interfaced with the hub's systems. Her voice rang throughout the chamber. "Members of the Galactic Confederation, you debate based on incomplete information. See the truth." The screens showed ancient battles, humans fighting alongside other species against the Decimator fleets. The images were clear. Humans had not been conquerors but protectors of a young galactic community. Humanity stood against the Decimators when no other species could defeat them. Eterna continued. They sacrificed their own civilization, rather than use their power to dominate others after the war. The chamber fell silent as the evidence unfolded: archaeological findings, genetic records, historical documents, all confirming what John and his crew had discovered. In the midst of this revelation, an urgent message cut through. Admiral Clark's face appeared on the main screen. "Confederation Council, this is Earth Fleet Admiral Clark. A breakaway faction of the Krell has bypassed our forces at Mars and is heading directly for Earth with planet-killing weapons. We request immediate assistance under Confederation emergency protocols." The chamber erupted in chaos. "This is a human trick," Drax shouted. "Scan the Sol system," ordered Xal. A Veldari operator confirmed. "Earth speaks truth. Krell dreadnoughts approach their homeworld. Weapons are armed." Xal faced the assembly. "We must vote now. Do we intervene to save Earth, or allow the Krell to attack?" As arguments filled the chamber, a new voice spoke. The Norview ambassador, whose empathic species rarely engaged in politics, stood. "We have felt the humans' minds," the Norview said softly, yet everyone quieted to hear. "They are fierce, yes. Determined, certainly, but not conquerors. They fight hardest when protecting others. I have sensed this truth." One by one, other species began to voice support. The Thalassians offered their fastest ships. The Veldari pledged defensive systems. "This is treason," Drax roared. "No," Saul replied firmly. "This is justice. The vote is clear enough. The Confederation will defend Earth." As ships from a dozen worlds prepared to assist humanity, John watched the battle displays showing Earth's small fleet desperately engaging the Krell attackers. Near Mars, Frank Martinez's Defiance was heavily damaged but still fighting. When news came that Confederation allies were joining them, Frank called to his exhausted crew. "See that? The whole galaxy is watching how humans fight. Let's show them why nobody should dare to fight us unless they're on our side." Despite failing systems and overwhelming odds, the human ships refused to yield. They protected each other, adapted to Krell tactics, and fought with increasing effectiveness even as they took damage. On the hub, ambassadors from previously hostile species watched in amazement. "They should have broken by now," one whispered. "Any rational species would surrender." Susan smiled grimly. "That's not how humans work. The more you press us, the harder we fight back." As Confederation ships finally arrived at Earth to help defend it, the truth became clear to the watching galaxy. Humans weren't dangerous because they were conquerors. They were dangerous because they were survivors, who became strongest precisely when you expected them to fail. 1 year after the Battle of Earth, representatives from across the galaxy gathered in a new meeting hall. Unlike the Confederation hub with its ancient design, this structure was distinctly human, practical yet beautiful, with large windows showing the stars. Built in Earth orbit, it symbolized humanity's new place in galactic society. John Miller stood at the observation deck, watching ships from 24 worlds move through nearby space. Some delivered supplies, others carried diplomats, and many came simply to observe the species that had changed everything. "Quite a view," said Admiral Clark, joining him. She looked different now, more confident, wearing a new uniform that combined Earth and Confederation designs. "I still can't believe how much has changed," John replied. After the combined forces of Earth and their new allies defeated the Krell attack, the Confederation had fractured. The old power structure, built on hidden truths and manipulation, could not stand once Eterna revealed humanity's real history. "The Council is ready to begin," Kevin Barnes said, approaching them. As Earth's chief diplomat, he had aged visibly over the past year, but his eyes showed satisfaction. "They're waiting for you, John." The three entered the grand chamber where representatives sat in a circular arrangement, symbolizing equality rather than hierarchy. Grand Arbiter Saul, who had chosen to support the new alliance, nodded to them. "The first summit of the Terran Protectorate will now commence," Saul announced. John took his place at the speaking position. As the captain who had first contacted alien life, he had become a symbol to both humans and aliens. 1 year ago, John began, we faced extinction. Today, we offer protection. The Terran Protectorate isn't about human dominance. It's about creating something that has never existed before. A true partnership between worlds. Admiral Clark presented the military framework. Earth ships would serve alongside Confederation allies as peacekeepers. Kevin outlined diplomatic initiatives. Susan White, now director of Sinautians, explained cultural exchange programs. When they finished, Saul addressed the gathering. Many still ask why humans have earned such influence so quickly. Is it your technology? Your numbers? The Grand Arbiter shook his head. No, it is something far more fundamental. Zal gestured, and Eterna joined him. She had become a bridge between humanity's past and future, helping recover lost knowledge while ensuring it was used wisely. The real reason nobody dares to fight humans, Eterna said, lies in their unique psychology. All other known species follow predictable patterns under stress. Apply enough pressure, and they break. Humans are different. Displayed on the chamber walls were scenes from human history. People surviving impossible conditions, rebuilding after disasters, overcoming overwhelming odds. Humans don't break under pressure, Eterna continued. They transform. Where other species see insurmountable problems, humans see challenges to overcome. They become stronger through adversity. The Norview ambassador added, "We have studied human minds. They possess remarkable adaptability. They can be fiercely aggressive yet deeply compassionate, sometimes within moments of each other. This combination exists in no other species. This is why the old Confederation feared humans." Saul explained, "Not because humans are natural conquerors, but because they are natural survivors. And what makes them dangerous also makes them invaluable allies." Frank Martinez, his uniform showing the scars of battle like his face, stood to address the gathering. "My ship was nearly destroyed defending Mars. We were outnumbered, outgunned, with no chance of victory. But not one crew member suggested surrender. That's not who we are." John concluded the meeting with a simple truth. The galaxy has learned what happens when you fight humans. We don't just fight back, we get better at fighting. But now they're learning something more important. What happens when you stand with humans? We apply that same determination to protecting our friends. As the summit ended, representatives from worlds that had once feared humanity now sought alliances. The mystery that had haunted the galaxy was finally understood. Humans weren't dangerous because they were aggressive or technologically advanced. They were dangerous and precious because they refused to accept defeat, even when logic said they should. And in a dangerous universe, that made them the perfect protectors.